All right, so let's shift gears. Ford's been in the news again, and not for a new launch. Another round of recalls. What is going on?
Hmm.
Well, the big one is over 1 million Ford Explorers have been recalled for rear axle bolt issues. And of course, there's also tow module fire risks in the Maverick and Bronco Sport, and software bugs that can cause stalling in the F-150 Lightning, stalling in an electric vehicle. Of course, I guess that's a term that means more as far as performance rather than the pistons failing to ignite.
Yeah, maybe it's more it ran out of juice.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge. Everybody's got recalls. I mean, nobody builds a perfect vehicle. They're not just doing all changes in everybody's service base. But the folks who win, they're the ones who respond quickly to this. Okay, they take care of the customer, and they keep the communication transparent and open, and just let the folks know that look, this we're here to help. We're here to take care of this issue, and certainly. If it was a very serious issue, they would tell the folks just park it and, we'll come pick it up. But most of these, I think, the TSBs within, should be easy to take care of in a lot of these cases, right?
Oh yeah, and remember, every recall isn't a life or death instance. We've
Hmm.
literally seen recalls where the vehicle has to legally be recalled, brought back to the dealership, and then the guy brings it to the service lane. Somebody comes out, takes the visor off of the windshield and replaces it with a visor that has a different sticker on it because the wording on the warning for the airbags was not legally correct. So you have different levels of recalls.
Hmm.
Mm.
So how does Ford turn this into a moment of trust instead of tension?
Well, you have to own it. You train your people to understand that, this is their responsibility. Ford is going to the effort in this particular case to take care of these things. This is why, you bought your car here. This is why you trust us to service it here. We caught it early, and we're going to take care of it. And so the idea is that the peace of mind that the customer will have when they leave the service drive, that the car is going to be safer than when they brought it in. And when you take the time to go over this with the customer, it builds confidence, not only with the product, but with you as the retailer that they chose to do business with in the first place. And it should allow them the confidence to come back again and again.
Yeah, and make sure the BDC follows up with these folks. If someone has a repeat repair or their warranty is about to expire, they may be thinking about trading without saying it out loud or approaching the dealership.
And like we said, everybody's got recalls. It's just how professionally are you going to handle these issues? If you run away from them, you hide behind it, it's not going to look good, and it's going to end bad for you in the long run with your customers. So, as we said, take ownership of it, do the right thing by the customer, get them in as soon as you can to take care of it and go on with life.
So, Mike, let's take a little further. You've got these recall customers in your store already. What do you think salespeople should be doing when the recall customers are in the store?
Well, first and foremost, salespeople, ought to be hanging around the service drive to begin with. Okay. Not just lurking around. They should be there, on the chance that they're going to run into one of their prior customers. And, that's where you can offer the assistance. You're reinforcing when you said you'd be there after the sale, here you are. And just have that conversation. You're getting a routine maintenance. Is there something, going on? But it's also an opportunity. If you maybe that customer you're talking with bought a car from you 3 years ago, and you're asking them, "Hey, how's it going?" He said, "Well, we've outgrown this one." Really, when you get a chance, while they're servicing this one, I'll come and take a look inside, and maybe we can offer you something to upgrade you out of this particular model. And again, just the engagement with your customers. I really think dealerships and salespeople who don't take the opportunity to hang out every once in a while in the service drive, they're really leaving one of the greatest prospecting opportunities in sales, on the shelf. And, the best customer is a present customer. And, if you can get that loyalty where they're trading out of the ones that they're coming in to get routine maintenance on, and it's time for them, or you can offer them a lower payment and a better rate, especially the ones who bought, over the last couple of years, I think it's quite probable.
Yep.
Well, some of the questions that salespeople ought to be talking about is, is the car, doing what we said it was going to do? I mean, is it fulfilling your needs, your wants, in a lot of cases, your desires? Again, families change, individuals change. They may have recently gotten a promotion, and they want to, make an emotional purchase and finally get that sports car that they were looking for, or maybe they finally decided to get that boat and they need a bigger vehicle to pull that vessel. And whereas when you sold them that vehicle 2 or 3 years ago, that wasn't in their plans. One of the things we talk about in chatting with the customer, and when you have those initial conversations is, what are your wants, needs, and desires? And we covered some of this in some of the previous episodes where, you know, you just using it to commute back and forth. And that may have been the gist with this particular purchase. But now they've upgraded to a boat or a camper. Now they need something bigger. So now's the time where you say, hey, look, while you're here, while they're servicing this one, let's show you what we can offer you. How big a boat? How big a camper? Where do you plan on going? You plan on going in the mountains with that camper? Maybe a diesel is going to be what you need, especially if you're going into higher elevations. If you just go on the flatlands down here in the south, maybe you don't need something, with a mega V8. Maybe a turbo V6 or just a regular aspirated V6 would work and do the trick. So, it's all about keeping in contact with your customers, and that's what sales pros do anyway. Um, they don't need a reminder to call that customer on their anniversary date. They know when that customer bought. And if they're hanging out in the service, they're going to see their customers on a very frequent basis.
Exactly. You're uncovering the needs, the want, the life circumstances, the frustrations, even the aspirations. And sometimes instead of going from a vehicle, an aspirational vehicle, sometimes the life changes and suddenly they have to trade in a Mustang and get a Explorer because now they're having kids. Their parents are moving back. Whatever it is that's changing their lives at this point.
I can tell you point blank, it's just not with kids and parents. It's dogs. My son and his wife, they had a sedan, and with the big golden retriever and the little Sheltie, it just didn't cut the mustard. And they wound up trading a nice sports sedan in for a big full-size SUV to accommodate their change in their lifestyle. So don't forget about the four-legged reasons why you have those lifestyle changes.
Yep.
But yeah, it's crazy. Again, just I mean, my son's evolution from an EV to a four-door, high-end sports sedan to now the SUV, and this is only within the last 5 years. And so, keeping up with the customer. But the sad part about it is, one of them an EV, it was a Tesla, so that wasn't a dealer purchase, but the other two were, and they weren't the same retailers. So think about it. If that salesperson, when he bought a car many years ago, had kept up with them, they may have had that opportunity to sell them at least two more vehicles.
Right.
But sadly, the follow-up and after the sale, they just lost touch with them. And, we talk about some of the dealers' responsibilities in this. What happens when a salesman leaves and who takes over that customer base for that salesperson who's no longer there? I
Yeah. A
don't know. Yeah, I
responsible
don't know if you've
dealership.
gotten anything in the mail that says dear orphan customer. I have.
Yeah. A well-run dealership is going to reassign customers to a different salesperson, immediately after a change in personnel. And that salesperson, if a professional salesperson in the business, especially for a while, is going to follow up with those customers immediately, not only to let them know, look, so and so isn't here anymore, but I just want to step up and let you know that you're not an orphan customer, you're my customer now. And is there anything I can do for you right now? You know, be proactive. You can look up the VIN numbers of the vehicles on the NHTSA website, see if there are any recalls open on them, and then check with service and see how the status of being able to service those particular recalls are, you know, to shift back to recalls. And then you can step forward and be the liaison between the service and the customer, which is an area that most salespeople don't even think about.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you and it really helps out.